Testing 1 2 3. Can you hear me? Testing 1 2 3. Okay, praise the Most High Yah. We've come back from our break. We're going to continue in our study of Isaiah. Before we do that, let's have a word of prayer and then let's get back into the word. Most High Yahweh, we give you the praise, the honor, and the glory for all you have done and continue to do for us. We deserve none of it, and yet we would not be even alive. We would not exist without your divine power, without the salvation you offer through Messiah. We praise you for the awakening, and we ask now, as we go back into your word, you continue to guide and direct our paths, that we might learn by your spirit of perfect righteousness to bring you all the honor, the glory, and the praise due to your most holy name, Yahweh. In the name of Messiah, your son, Yahweh Shai, we pray. Amen. Okay. Praise Yah. Hallelujah. So, we were talking about how Rome, according to the Bible showing us, is behind everything going on the earth. Now, brothers and sisters, I want to talk about a little bit of history that we're all very familiar with. History that really nobody actually denies. Right? So there's some deniers of some history. You know that, right? There are people that deny history. Matter of fact, I was listening this week to a podcast that had been recorded about the Rwanda genocide. Some of y'all probably weren't born at the time of the Rwanda genocide, or you might have been little. Some of us were grown and already out and remember the Rwanda genocide. Make a long story short, there were two major tribes in the nation of Rwanda, an East African, between Central Africa, East Africa nation. And these two, Hutsis and Tutus, or Tutsis and Hutus, I get them confused. One starts with a T, one starts with an H. But anyway, they were warned, and there was thousands, actually hundreds of thousands of people murdered as a result of the war between these two tribes in the mid-90s. Some of y'all might have read about it, you might have heard about it, but there were literally dead bodies and body parts floating down rivers in Rwanda. As a result, people would go there and try to report on it, and I heard reporters vomiting and crying because of the horrific things they saw done. Anyway, this particular week, I was listening to a podcast about that genocide in the 1990s, and let me put it this way. I'm going to put it this way so that nobody can say that I said it. But there's a reporter and an author of a book that did some investigative journalism. That's when a journalist investigates things more closely, goes on the ground to the site, talks to people, gets documents, so on and so forth. And this journalist found out, listen carefully. Can y'all hear me? Testing 1 2 3. This journalist found out that the United States was responsible for the genocide. And they made it look like it was a war between two tribes. This journalist found this out. Okay? Something happened to my screen. Something happened here. I don't know what's going on. Okay, anyway. Yeah. So this journalist found out, and why would the United States do something like that? They wanted control of the nation and its resources. That's not unfamiliar to anybody, is it? That's not unfamiliar to anybody. I mean, let's be fair about it. We don't know. The journalist said this is what happened, and we don't really know if the journalist is telling the truth, although she has no reason to lie about it. But we don't know if she's telling the truth or not. But what we do know, what do we know? Is it true? Can I say it with a true fact? Has the United States government ever lied to its people? Ever? Can I say? Is that something that has happened? Has the United States government lied about things? Yes, it has. Of course, it has. We have too many examples to list, but there's a lot of examples. They have lied to its people, right? Okay, that's true. Yeah. Can we say with any certainty that the United States government has had a hand in overthrowing governments of other countries? Has that ever happened before? Has it happened? Yes, of course it has. Of course it has. It's happened in Chile. It's happened in East African nations. It's happened in West African nations. I'm saying it's happened in West African nations. It's happened in the Middle East. It's happened Many times. So yes, of course they have. So it's not impossible for this to be true, right? It's not impossible. Well, let's talk about some history. Let's talk about some history that most people will not try. Well, the reason I brought up Rwanda this week, the reason I brought that up because somebody tried to stand up and say it didn't happen. That there was no genocide. Somebody tried to stand up and actually say this thing didn't happen. No, this wasn't true. This never happened. But there were too many people who lost too many people who are witnesses, first-hand witnesses. See, the Bible says in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, well, there's many more than that with regard to this genocide, right? So they can't deny that it happened. There's too many witnesses, all right? But people try to do that. They try to change history, but there's some history we can't deny. So let's talk about it before we get into the word. Is it true? Do y'all think it's true that European people came on ships to the shores of what is now called North America? Is that true? Do you think that happened? That they actually came from Europe across the ocean on some ships and they landed in areas of the West that is now called North America and the islands that are now the islands in the Caribbean? They land on these places. Okay. Is it true? Can I say, do you think it's true that they came here and that the natives of that place thought they were coming in peace and they were mistaken? Is that true? That the natives that were already in these lands, the Indians mostly, black people that were already in these lands, when they saw them Caucasians come off them ships filled with disease, but that's another story. When they came off them ships to these lands, they thought they were coming in peace, but they were mistaken. And what can I say? Did it eventually happen? Did it eventually happen that those people that came across the ocean on them ships took over every land they landed on when they supposedly came in peace? Did it happen like that? Yes, it did. They took over Canada, what's now Canada, what's now the United States, what's now Mexico, what's now Puerto Rico, what's now Dominican Republic, what's now Jamaica, what's now Cuba, all these places, correct? Yes, they did that. They always came on ships and came in peace with their people trying to what, quote unquote, discover, right? Really what they were doing is raping the land of the resources and trying to profit from it, right? That's what they were doing. The peoples of these lands weren't worried about the resources in terms of profit. It was for everybody. But when them people came over on their ships in the name of peace, problems came with them. Is that correct? Am I making that up, or did that happen? Did that happen? Yes, that did happen. Can we say the same thing about Australia? Were there people of color on this giant continent? It's a continent. Australia is more than just a country, It's a continent. As a matter of fact, they estimate that you could give every family on the entire planet Earth a half acre of land in Australia, and it would fit every family on that continent. You see what I'm saying? So it's a big place. Did they come to that continent on ships, and the natives thinking they came in peace, and they were mistaken? Is that what happened? Yes, I think we can agree. I think we can agree that happened. Did the people come from Holland? I don't know where the Dutch come from. I think the Dutch come from Holland. Did they come down and come on ships to the shores of Africa, and they started coming, they said they was in peace, and they end up taking over the whole South Africa and now claiming it's theirs? Did that happen or didn't it? Do you think that's true? Did they come down? Yeah, see, right. So there's a history of that. Do you know the Bible speaks about that? But before we get into that, it's going to talk to us about it in the book of Isaiah. It's actually going to talk to us about it in the book of Isaiah. You see, brothers and sisters, there's nothing new under the sun, brothers and sisters. Not only that, there's a reason that our Father Yah and his son Yahweh Shai tell us they're the Alpha and Omega. That's why they tell us that. They're the Alpha and Omega. They tell us that which exists before it even exists. I know that sounds crazy. They talk about things in existence before they even exist, before we even know about. They tell us what's happening beforehand. Praise Yah. So there's a history of people approaching in peace but having war in their heart with greed. But brothers and sisters, let us not forget. Let us not forget. First of all, please remind me, the Christian church, which is really based in Rome, the Christian church, testing, is based in Rome. in the Vatican. All Christianity is based in the Vatican. I'm on to let you know. Now, can you please remind me? The founders, the heathen founders of that institution called the Christian Church. If I had to give you three guesses, if I said, do they come from Shem? Do they come from Ham? Or did they come from Japhet? What would you tell me? Where did they come from? The people that started the Christian church in Rome. That's right. They came from Japhet. That's right. The youngest son of Noah. They came from the youngest boy. That boy moved up there into the mountains of the Caucasus Mountains and went up there in what is now Russia and what is now Soviet places and what is now Europe. He moved up in there. They lived in the hills, in caves. That's where you get the cavemen from. Hey, listen, there ain't no cavemen in Africa, is there? I never heard of it. The Bible never speaks of any of the Israelites being cavemen, does it? And yet, we have actually in science books that we are taught in America about cavemen. Did they exist? Of course they did. Where? In Europe. That's where they came from. That's where they came from. Cavemen. That's the history. I'm just giving you the history. But of course, because they discovered things, they say that's where all men came from. But that's not true. Not everybody came from a cave. Just the European. I'm just trying to be honest with you. And so out of the north, the Bible continually shows us, doesn't it? In fact, let's take a look at it. Joel shows us. Jeremiah shows us. Isaiah shows us. They say out of the north, the trouble's coming. Out of the north. Isn't that correct? Let's take a look at Joel. Let's see. Let's start. I'm just trying to figure out where do I want to start. Let's see. In Joel, there's so much here. Let's go back to Joel chapter 2. We started there. We started to do some of that last night. But this now we're talking about a similar, the same situation, but a different thing. So let's see. Joel chapter 2. Let's begin. Let's see. I'm going to start at verse 1. I'm going to start at verse 1. And I'm going to go from verse 1. I'm going to go from verse 1 down to verse 13 to start us off. Joel chapter 2. Okay, start. Blow ye the trumpet in Zion, and sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble. For the day of Yahweh cometh, for it is nigh at hand. A day of darkness, a day of gloominess, a day of clouds and of thick darkness, as the morning spread upon the mountains, a great people and a strong. They have not been ever the like. Neither shall be any more after it, even to the years of many generations. A fire devoureth before them, and behind them a flame burneth. The land is as the Garden of Eden before them, and behind them a desolate wilderness. Yea, nothing shall escape them. The appearance of them is like the appearance of horses, and as horsemen so shall they run. Like the noise of chariots on the tops of mountains shall they leap. Like the noise of a flame of fire that devoureth the stubble, as strong people set in battle array before their face, the people shall be much pain. All faces shall gather blackness. They shall run like a mighty man, and they shall climb the wall like men of war. They shall march on his ways, and they shall not break their ranks. Neither shall one thrust another. They shall walk every one in his path. And when they fall upon the sword, they shall not be wounded. They shall run to and fro in the city. They shall run upon the wall. They shall climb up upon the houses. They shall enter in at the windows like a thief. The earth shall quake before them. The heavens shall tremble. The sun and moon shall be dark. The stars shall withdraw their sign. And Yahweh shall utter his voice before his army. His camp is very great, for he is strong that executeth his word. For the day of Yahweh is great and very terrible. Who can abide? Therefore also now, saith Yahweh, turn ye even to me with all your heart, with fasting, with weeping, and with mourning. turn unto Yahweh your most high, for he is gracious and merciful, slow to anger and of great kindness, and repenteth him of the evil. So he's talking about an army. See, brothers and sisters, what we must understand is Yahweh uses the heathen as his army to punish his people. We can clearly see that, obviously, because we are basically in our oppressor's land. You understand? So he uses the heathen as his spanking tool, as his strap, as his switch, as it were, to punish his people. He uses the heathen. But then when the heathen go too far, he'll turn on them, as we also have read. Let's continue. Joel chapter 2 from verse 14 down to verse 20. From verse 14 down to verse 20. Who knoweth if he will return and repent and leave a blessing behind him, even a meat offering and a drink offering unto Yahweh your most high? Blow the trumpet in Zion, sanctify a fast, call a solemn assembly, gather the people, sanctify the congregation, assemble the elders, gather the children and those that suck the breast. Let the bridegroom go forth of his chamber and the bride out of her closet. Let the priest, the minister of Yahweh, weep between the porch and the altar. Let them say, spare thy people, O Yahweh. Give not thine heritage to reproach, that the heathen should rule over them. Wherefore should they say among the people, where is their most high? Then will Yahweh be jealous for his land and pity his people. Yea, Yahweh will answer and say unto his people, behold, I send you corn and wine and oil, and ye shall be satisfied therewith, and I will no more make you a reproach among the heathen. But I will, watch this, but I will remove off from you, the northern army, and will drive them into a land barren and desolate, with his face toward the east sea, and his hinder part toward the utmost sea. His stink shall come up, and his ill savor shall come up, because he hath done great things. So he's telling us it comes out of the north. See, the invaders that take no mercy, that say they come in a fruitful field, and then when they left behind, it's desolate. So everything they touch turns to desolation. It said they come out of the north. You see that? That's the northern army. Okay. And they come against the Israelite people. They come against our people. They come against us. Well, that's who we're enslaved to. That's who we have been oppressed by. That's who are now in their land. The Northern Army. Testing 1, 2, 3. And of course, it goes on to show us that there's going to be a restoration, that his spirit is going to come. See, that's the way the pattern is. We sinned against him. He spanks us. We repent. We turn back to him. He delivers us. He pours his spirit on us. Same pattern, all the prophets. Same pattern. But it comes out the north, was the point I was making here. This destructive power comes out the north. Also, we can see the Vatican comes out of what? The north. All of this is in relation to what? To the land of Israel. That's the center of the earth, to the Most High. So when he says the north, he's saying north of Israel. That is Europe coming down, brothers and sisters. The European is destined, is prophesied to rule the earth at this time. Now, we already read in Daniel that it says that Rome shall subdue the whole earth. Isn't that down? Break it down in pieces. Rome is doing that, isn't that right? It's for profit and for control and for the glory of Asatan, destroying the earth. Now, this is the thing I like to bring up, brothers and sisters. Safety is in the word of the Most High. See, it's no accident. Don't let anybody tell you that the Bible isn't true. If you want to overcome, put your trust in this word. Nobody that ever put all their trust, and brothers and sisters, let me just be quite honest with you. In the modern era, there's been few people, very few, that have put all their trust in the pages of the word of the Most High. Very few. Very few. Either out of ignorance or out of pride. But very few people have done it. Whoever does do it is safe. Let me tell you that. Put your trust in the pages of this word. Don't put your trust in man. I don't care what they tell you or what they show you. Put your trust in the pages of this here word, and you're going to be all right. You're like the cub of the leopard that left mama when mama say, stay with me, stay in this tree with me. And the cub left mama and went down to try to run on his own. And the hyena met him. And the cub was no match for the hyena. But the cubs that stayed up in the tree, because mama say, stay up in the tree, don't leave. They were able to wait out the hyenas, and the hyenas ended up leaving. Then when that cub was grown and became a leopard, hyena couldn't deal with it. See what I'm saying? Trust in the word. Trust in the word alone. Don't trust in man. You'll be safe trusting in this word. But you will never be safe trusting in man. And don't trust in the things your eyes see by the television. Please don't trust the television. Don't trust the television. Don't trust the news media. Don't trust them. They are 100% of the time lying to you. Let me ask you a question, brothers and sisters. If I'm talking to you, right, and 9/10 of what I tell you is true, but 1/10 of what I tell you is a deliberate lie, have I lied to you in the whole 10 or have I not? You understand? So if I'm telling you, and that's the way a liar is. That's how lies work. Yo, listen, man. One thing for sure, every human being on the planet has issues, or should I say experience with liars. Either you being a liar yourself or you experiencing liars. Everybody has. If you've ever been taken in the sale or something, you ever reached in your pocket to buy something and then turn around later and say, dang, I got taken. I shouldn't have bought that. But you were slicked by a slick talking salesman who what? Who lied to you. Hmm? And a good liar will tell 9/10 the truth. Oh yes, a good liar will 90% of the time be speaking truth, but that 1/10%, man, they gonna catch you. And that's the news media. That's the news media. The news media will tell you a good portion of truth, but they're gonna put in there some twist and turn that's gonna cause your mind to get messed up. Don't ever trust them. Understand that from the beginning. I look at the news all the time, but I understand what I'm looking at. I know they're lying to me. I know it's all staged. I totally understand it. And when you have that understanding, you can look behind what they're saying and you can see the truth behind what they're saying and see what's really happening. Because the word tells us the truth. Okay? So now, understanding that Rome is behind all of these things we're seeing on the earth. Every person that is in real power. Now, listen to me carefully. When you see people, or should I say, you don't really see people that are really in power, right? Like you've heard of Rockefeller, but how many times have you actually seen Rockefeller? You understand what I'm saying? You heard of people like George Soros, but how many times have you actually seen George Soros? You understand what I'm saying? Very few of these snakes actually come out for you to see them, and yet through their money and power, they're controlling everything. You understand? That's the most powerful people. And what they usually have, right? They usually have frontmen. They call them enforcers. When they want something done, they send the enforcer. You understand what I'm saying? What does that mean? That means they enforce the will of their master. Violently or whatever, but they do it exercising power and authority given to them by the crook. You understand? Yeah, you understand. Even the mafia. See, you borrow money from the mob. I don't care if it's the Russian mob, the Chinese mob, the Italian mob. You borrow money from the mob, you're gonna pay it back plus, right? It's almost like dealing with credit card companies. They're the same thing. They just legal mobsters, but they don't send leg breakers after you. You understand? But you see what happened when they want their money. You don't hear from the person you actually borrowed the money from. You hear from the enforcer. You hear from the enforcer. You understand? And that's how it works all the way up. Well, then, let me explain to you. Satan has an enforcer. It's called Rome. Rome has an enforcer. Who is Rome's enforcer? Let's let the Bible show us, shall we? Who is Rome's enforcer? Let the Bible show us. Revelation chapter 13. Here we are back in Revelation chapter 13. If you get in the picture, Revelation 13 is a very pivotal chapter. Why is it pivotal? Because we're living it. You and I are living Revelation chapter 17 and Revelation chapter 13. We're actually living it. Now 13 is starting off. Let me just cut to you. We got a whole series on the book of Revelation on the website, rawhebrewremnant.org. Got a whole series on the book of Revelation. You can go study it. Then we're going to come back and do it again. Of course, we do Revelation as often as we will, okay? But Revelation 13 is showing you the Vatican power in its work when it says that they shall share power with the beast for 1 hour. This is what it looks like. It's Revelation 13, verse 1 telling you what it looks like. Verse 1 and 2 telling you what it's looked like. Let's take a look at that. And I stood upon the sand of the sea. Revelation 13, verse 1 and 2. And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And upon his horns 10 crowns. See, he got crowns on the horn. That's telling you they kings. You see that? Only a king wears a crown. You understand? having 10 crowns upon his horn, and upon his head the name of blasphemy. That means against the Most High. The beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion, and the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. So you have an established entity. The dragon has given it power, seat, and authority. That means it rules, brothers and sisters. The seat is a throne. Testing 1, 2, 3. You catching me? Power, seat, and authority. Okay? And it's made up of several kingdoms that's gathered into one beast, which is controlled by one man, the Catholic Church. And then the rest of this chapter, from verse 3 all the way down, is showing you how it got to the point of verses 1 and 2. That's what it's showing. There's a pattern. See, what it is that, we are blessed as Hebrews. The natural Hebrew, and I'm not trying to diss on my brothers and sisters that come from the loins of the sons of Yefet that have come into this truth, but I'm just trying to tell you how it is, because the Most High has touched Jacob's children. And one of the ways you can see that the Most High has touched, even in our blighted state, even in the state of slavery, we got creativity. I'm just being honest with you. The sons of Jacob, they got creativity. And they use, am I lying to you? And they got rhythm. They got rhythm. See, they can recognize true rhythm from something that ain't right, right? So just like the other day, when we was gathering together, me and the brethren, and there was some brethren there, and we got a real love brother. I'm not gonna name him, I don't want to embarrass him, but there's a brother we love very much, and he come from the sons of Yefet, and he's converted to the truth. Him and his wife and his daughter, and we started to dance, and we had a little wine. We had a little wine, and we started dancing, and we was all rejoicing. Right, we was in this place for like a couple of days together, and we was just rejoicing. And my brother stood up and started to dance, and his daughter said, "Daddy, stop it, man! You dancing too white." She said, "Daddy, sit down. You're dancing too white. You got to loosen your hips a little bit, Daddy." See, brothers and sisters, because he has touched us with that creativity. See, there's certain signs that we were once his chosen people. And one of the signs is that we got this creativity. You could put us in all kinds of situations and we're going to create something. A lot of the things that have been invented in the United States have been created by Hebrews. Of course, Caucasian men say they discovered it. They don't want our names on it, but that's all good. We know we still got it. That's why I tell people, don't let them steal what they want to steal, brothers and sisters. Let them steal it, because there's an unlimited amount of creativity the Most High has given us. It's unlimited. And I always say, you think that's something? There's more where that came from. You understand? Because the Creator gave us that, and we got that rhythm. And so why do I bring that up? Because the book of Revelation is written in a rhythm. And when you understand the rhythm, it helps you understand Revelation. And just like when you look at the prophets, they're written in a rhythm. What do I say that? Because you can see, we talk about, one of the ways we talk about it is how you see the prophet gets shown the same thing in different ways. You understand? It's like almost like he's coming back to a chorus. It's like a refrain. He's coming back, he's showing the prophet this again. Then he comes back, he shows it to him again. There's a rhythm to it. Book of Revelation is the same thing. And so when you look at, like, for example, there's 7 churches, there's 7 seals, there's 7 trumpets. There's a rhythm to it. There's a rhythm to it. Oh yes, Hebrews can author fiction. They could do anything. A Hebrew could do anything. No question. Anything. You never know. You never know. You know what I'm saying? The creativity is what it is. Matter of fact, and listen, does not the devil use our creativity and our rhythm against the world to deceive the world sometimes? Don't they use that stuff we have, and they what they do with it? They cause us to jump up and down and bounce a ball or punch somebody, and then all of a sudden people pay millions of dollars to watch that. And brothers used to do it. See, for example, like professional boxing. Back in the day, brothers could get education, don't mean they could get a job. So what some of them do? Some of them turned to fighting because they knew people would pay to see them fight. And they turned it into an art form. They called it the sweet science. It wasn't the sweet science until the Hebrews started getting involved. Before Jack Johnson, they were just animals. But then all of a sudden Jack Johnson came and it was a sweet science because he turned it into that, because that was the creativity. You understand? That was the creativity and rhythm that they had. And the greatest boxes showed that. All right. And I'm just using that as an example. It's displayed in many ways. Many ways. Writing, sports, education. It's displayed in many ways. The creativity from oppression is always displayed when you look closely at it. All right. So here in the book of Revelation, chapter 13, it starts off showing you the finished product, and the rest of 13 showing you how they got there and how they exercised that power they got in verses 1 and 2. And in chapter 14, let's look at chapter 14 just as an example. It does the same thing. Look at chapter 14 of Revelation, verse 1, 2, and 3. Chapter 14, verse 1, 2, and 3. Watch what it says. Watch this. Starts off like this. And I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on the Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, having his father's name written in their forehead. And I heard a voice from heaven, as the voice of many waters, as the voice of a great thunder. And I heard the voice of harpers harping with their harps. And they sung, as it were, a new song before the throne and before the four beasts and the elders. And no man could learn that song but the 144,000 which were redeemed from the earth. So it's introducing you to the bride and the lamb in the kingdom, because they're on Mount Zion, and the rest of the chapter is showing you how they got there. Chapter 13 is introducing you to the beast and the devil and how they got there, and the rest of the chapter is showing you how they got there. You see the rhythm, brothers and sisters? That's the rhythm. See, that's the rhythm. And when you recognize it, you know, it's like, wow, okay, that man, well, okay. That's the rhythm. So here in chapter 13, you see the beast. You see how he got his power, seat, and authority from the dragon. Then you're going to see how he got there. Now he has an enforcer. He has an enforcer. The beast has an enforcer. Now remember, as we study in Daniel, let's have a word of prayer. Most High Yah, we give you the praise, the honor, and the glory. We want to thank you.